Let's talk about Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. Right now, the Tennessee Titans are 3-11, and they just came out and basically said, hey, we're done with Will Levis. Will Levis has been benched in favor of Mason Rudolph, which is not surprising. Mason Rudolph right now is a better quarterback than Will Levis, and we got to see Mason Rudolph this season in a couple of games. Will Levis hurt his shoulder, and they gave him his job back as soon as he was fully healthy. This is why I'm concerned about Will Levis and his future in the NFL. Coach Callahan has given him multiple opportunities to go out there and to be the franchise guy, but it hasn't worked out. We're going to talk about the offensive line, the key weapons at the skill position, and also the defense. But obviously, we have to talk about the biggest elephant in the room, and it is Will Levis and these freaking turnovers. 12 passing touchdowns in 11 games, but also 12 interceptions. That's terrible. That's going to get you kicked out of the NFL. Many people said, hey, Will Levis can be a first-round pick with CJ. He could be a first-round pick with Bryce Young. He could be a first-round pick with Anthony Richardson. But instead, he slides all the way to the second round. His time at Kentucky was a weird one. His last season was very underwhelming, but the season before, he looked like a superstar quarterback. Now, last season, he was dealing with an ankle injury. He wasn't the same player, but he had a lot of turnovers that last season. Similar to Jameis Winston and Sam Darnold in college, when you have a high turnover rate, it's going to translate over to the NFL. Now, Sam Darnold is balling right now with the Minnesota Vikings, but I'm going to use Jameis Winston as an example. Jameis Winston, nice guy, great teammate to have around. He stands in his own way because he turns the football over. But right now, Jameis Winston is a better quarterback than Will Levis because he's going to come with touchdowns. I can name many games this season to where Will Levis had only one passing touchdown to 2 to 3 interceptions on the day. You're putting your team behind the 8 ball and you're losing your team football games. Believe it or not, the Tennessee Titans are in a win now situation. The brand new general manager ran. He went out there. He brought in L'Jarius Sneed, at the time a very good veteran cornerback for the Kansas City Chiefs, a top veteran cornerback. Right now with the Tennessee Titans, he has been terrible. But hopefully long term, he can go back to how he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe he was just in a great system with the Chiefs, but this is a very good defense. I have more to say about the defense in the next couple of minutes. So Rand went out there, brought in a veteran cornerback that just won a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. He brings in a key wide receiver in Calvin Ridley from your division rival, the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's a win-win. You weaken your division rival and you strengthen your team by bringing in a very good wide receiver. That's a major deep threat and is one of the best route runners in the NFL today. And you still had DeAndre Hopkins at the time on the roster. You have Nick Westbrook-Ikine. You have key pieces. And for the ones that don't know, Rand, this general manager, is not the same guy that went out there and traded A.J. Brown. That's the previous regime that went out there and made that dumb decision. Even Mike Vrabel was not on board with doing that. But you still had key targets out there to help out Will Levis. You draft J.C. Latham in this year's first round class. In the first round, you bring him in. And you drafted Peter Skoronski last year. And he was their top offensive lineman last season. You bring in Lloyd Cushenberry, who was a very good center for the Denver Broncos at the time. 900 snaps played, only 1 sack allowed. Comes over to the Tennessee Titans, doesn't look as good, was a terrible center. Then he goes out there, he tears his Achilles. Hopefully long term, he could be a good center moving forward. The right side of this offensive line is terrible. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer is not a good player. Leroy Watson at the right tackle position, he's not a good player either. They need to fix the right side of the offensive line. Will Levis got sacked 20 times in 3 games this season. And the reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because I'm really about to go into film on Will Levis and show you why they're done with him and why they need to ship off Will Levis the same way they did Malik Willis. With all those things being said, they went out there, they bring in Tony Pollard, you have Tajay Spears, you have key weapons. It's not the best situation to have, but it's far from the worst situation to have. You bring in your brand new offensive line coach and a brand new head coach in Coach Callahan. He brings over his dad, one of the best offensive line coaches in NFL history. Everywhere he has been in the NFL, he has traditionally produced some of the best offensive lines. When I look at this game against the Chicago Bears, this is where we get into film. Will Levis throws his pick 6. He's trying to throw the football away. Why not just throw the football into the ground? And you can't say that Will Levis is too young. He doesn't know that just yet. He did it his rookie season. That's not an excuse. He did it against the Steelers. He threw the football into the ground, but instead he tries to throw the football away because he panicked. It goes for a pick 6. You're costing your team a football game here. The defense held Caleb Williams to 95 passing yards. They had this game won, but this pick 6 turned everything around for the Chicago Bears in this matchup. Against the New York Jets, just a week later, he has a major fumble in the red zone. You could have walked away with 3 points, but you didn't. Or even better, you could have walked away with a touchdown, but Will Levis, he cost you that. And Coach Callahan was so upset, he gets on the sideline, he gets in Will Levis's face. Coach Callahan is a fiery head coach, but he's never done that before. He was grilling Will Levis, and rightfully so. And this right here is the second interception back to week 1 against the Chicago Bears that basically lost him the football game. So Will Levis lost his team 2 football games this season. They only had 3 wins on the season. They could have easily had 5 if it was not for Will Levis and his dumb play. We can't baby quarterbacks in the NFL. I understand it's a learning curve, but when you're making dumb decisions like this and you're putting your team behind the 8 ball, you can't be on the field. And I was underneath the belief, hey, you give him more time, he can learn from it. Maybe you sit him down, you go with Mason Rudolph for a couple of games. We saw that happen with his hurt shoulder. He comes back into the lineup. He still has a turnover problem. Against the Houston Texans a couple of weeks ago, the Tennessee Titans won that game, one of the best coaching jobs Coach Callahan has done in his young career. And shout out to the defensive coordinator. They did a major hit job on CJ the entire day. And the offensive weapons, Calvin Ridley, Chig Okongwu, and Nick Westbrook-Ikine, they were getting open deep down the field. They were making key plays. Look at what Will Levis does. This is coming off a turnover from CJ. This man goes out there immediately. The first play from scrimmage, off of that turnover, he throws another pick 6. This is the second pick 6 in his career. You're giving teams points. You can't do that. A turnover is terrible, but a turnover for a touchdown is even worse. And they still won this game in spite of Will Levis. And yes, he had 2 passing touchdowns. He had a solid day until this interception, but it still hurt them. You look at this Bengals game. This is the game that got him benched. And for the ones that don't know, Coach Callahan is the former offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. He worked underneath the head coach, Zach Taylor, with the Bengals for many years. So you know that he wants to go out there. He wants to beat his friends. He wants to beat his former guys he went out there and coached up. Will Levis has a fumble right here to Trey Hendrickson. Great play by Trey Hendrickson. But once again, Will Levis, the ball security is not there. He's too reckless with the football. This play, Nick Westbrook-Ikine is wide open. This is a terrible throw by Will Levis. He overthrows him. It goes for an interception. These are costly turnovers. He had 4 turnovers against the Cincinnati Bengals, and they lost that game by 10 points. You would think they would have gotten blown out by 30-plus points in that matchup, but they did. And the defense on the day against the Bengals, they were playing very well. They forced Joe Burrow to throw an interception early in the matchup. They were in this football game until Will Levis had those interceptions and until he had that fumble. And you look at this pick 6. This is the icing on the cake. When you watch it on regular TV, you don't get the overhead cam. In this situation, the overhead camera shows that this wide receiver is not wide open. When you look at it on TV, maybe you say, hey, he's wide open. He got baited. This is a roll corner in the middle of the field. This is Cam Taylor-Britt. He throws his interception. It goes for yet another pick 6. 3 pick 6s in 1 year. That's 21 points for the other team. He's helping the other team score points. Most high school quarterbacks throw interceptions like this. Freshman quarterbacks, when they're redshirted, they throw interceptions like this, in college. You coach that out of them because they're young. They're only 18, 19 years old. Will Levis is in his 20s. He has played a lot of football in his career, dating back to college and in high school. You should know you do not throw this football. This wide receiver is not wide open. And yes, it's easy for me to say this because I'm not behind the offensive line. But when you're an NFL player and you're getting paid the big bucks, you don't throw this ball. You obviously see Cam Taylor-Britt rotating down and the safety is going up. It's roll coverage. It's basic one-on-one for quarterbacks in the NFL. CJ saw this against Tennessee Titans. He didn't throw the interception to the cornerback. He threw it to the linebacker. He got baited the week before. Will Levis is not learning from his mistakes. That's why he is on the bench. They went out there and they traded Malik Willis because he did not show enough promise and enough time. He was in a worse situation than Will Levis is in. Now, I don't believe that Malik Willis was going to ever go out there and be a franchise quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. Don't get me wrong. When I look at Will Levis, they gave you DeAndre Hopkins. They gave you Calvin Ridley. You have Nick Westbrook-Ikine. You have Tony Pollard. You have Tajay Spears. You have better offensive linemen on the left side. And this is a guy that did a very good job with dealing with chaos in Kentucky. He was able to go around there and make a lot of plays behind the offensive line. So now look at Will Levis right now. He is not ready for the NFL, and he may never be ready for the NFL. And that sucks to say, because just a few weeks ago, he was looking better. He had 2 games where he looked very solid against the Jacksonville Jaguars and against the Washington Commanders. Against the Jaguars, 168 passing yards, 0 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Against the Washington Commanders, 2 passing touchdowns, 0 interceptions in that matchup. And he had 212 passing yards. But it's not consistent enough. Right now, he is just a backup quarterback in the NFL. That's it. He looks like a worse version of Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is not a consistent starter. Jameis Winston will go out there, he'll have a good game or two. That's it. That is most backup quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm sorry to say it, Will Levis' future with the Tennessee Titans is very bleak. They're going to move off of him. They may draft a quarterback in the NFL draft. But it's going to be tough because the 2 top quarterbacks is Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. He may go to the New York Giants. Or he may go to the Las Vegas Raiders. And when you look at the Raiders, they need a quarterback. The second quarterback is Cam Ward. The third best quarterback, in my opinion, Quinn Ewers, Carson Beck. Do you want to see those type of guys play with Tennessee? There's no way in hell they're going to go out there and trade for Kirk Cousins or sign him. He's washed. He's terrible with the Atlanta Falcons right now. Do you want to bring in a guy like Sam Darnold? He may stay with the Vikings long term. And you also have to think about this. If they go out there and they possibly sign Sam Darnold, what is that contract going to look like? It's not going to be 1 year's $10 million when he's on right now. So your best quarterback options may be Mason Rudolph and Will Levis for yet another season, unless you want to go out there and reach on a quarterback on a guy like Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers. I don't see a quarterback right now that could come in and help out the Tennessee Titans. Maybe it's Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is the same type of bridge veteran. You're not getting anywhere with those quarterbacks. This is a Titans team that can compete right now with better quarterback play and with better protection on the right side of the offensive line. And I like this general manager. Maybe it's a quarterback that I'm missing. You guys can let me know in the comment section below who you would like to see with the Tennessee Titans moving forward. And if you're still in favor of Will Levis, let me know in the comment section. But if it's me, I'm moving off. You can't teach this. You can't get this out of him. This is who he is. He's a turnover machine. I've seen the same song and dance before. I've seen Kyle Boiler. I've seen Jameis Winston. It's hard to teach this out of quarterbacks. And we've seen quarterbacks in the past get benched. Look at Bryce Young. He got benched, came back to the starting lineup. He has looked better. But this is a different situation. Will Levis, Bryce Young was not going out there turning the football over at a high clip like Will Levis. Will Levis can read NFL coverages. He doesn't have anticipation. He doesn't have the pocket presence. And also, when I look at the sacks that he's taken, majority of the sacks are on Will Levis. He's not taking the check down. He's overthrowing wide receivers. He's throwing wide receivers into coverage. That's a dangerous thing to do because you could possibly lead a wide receiver into a big hit and he can get injured. Will Levis has regressed this season. Last season, he did look better underneath Mike Vrabel. And you can say, hey, Mike Vrabel is a better coach. I wouldn't argue with that statement right now, but Coach Callahan's not the reason why he's overthrowing wide receivers. He's not the reason why he's fumbling the football. Guys are getting open down the field. They're trying to make life as easy as possible for Will Levis. He tried to make him a game manager as soon as he came back from the AC injury on his shoulder. But Will Levis still found a way to mess that up. The man overthrew a screen pass to Tajay Spears out of the backfield. He's terrible. I'm done with Will Levis. I'm throwing in the white flag. I'm done with it. Maybe he can go to a different team and he will look better underneath better circumstances, like how Malik Willis looks better with the Green Bay Packers. I think the best fit with him would be with a team like the Los Angeles Rams. Ship him off to Sean McVay, see if he can work with him. Sean McVay is a great coach. Maybe he can go out there and find something that Coach Callahan can't find right now. But Coach Callahan did not select this kid. Coach Callahan was already, Will Levis, was already here when Coach Callahan took the job. He has no allegiance to Will Levis long term. And neither does this general manager, because Will Levis has not shown the poise to go out there and help this team win in big moments and in big games. The accuracy is poorish. He still has terrible mechanics that he was dealing with in college. You're working with some of the best coaches in the world, and you still have the same terrible mechanics. The throwing motion is terrible. It's too slow at times. It's too wonky. The release, sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not. You can't have a long release in the NFL, especially if you're dealing behind one of the worst offensive lines in the league. So now look at this situation with the Titans. It's a scary situation because until you figure out that quarterback situation, you're not going anywhere in the NFL. That's just how it is. And I do want to talk about this. When they traded A.J. Brown, they may go down as one of the darkest days in Tennessee Titans history. They traded A.J. Brown essentially for nothing. They traded A.J. Brown for Treylon Burks, and I mean this in the best way possible. Treylon Burks is a nice guy, phenomenal dude. If you go up to him in training camp, he's a great guy to be around. He'll go out there, he'll interact with the fans. Just overall a good dude off the field. You'll never hear me say a negative thing about him off the field. He was great at Arkansas. He's going to go down as one of the best Arkansas wide receivers of all time in college. But you guys know I keep it real in this channel, even if I am a fan of yours. He's not a good wide receiver. He can't stay healthy. He can't catch. He can't separate. His route running ability is limited. They knew that coming out of college, but they expected for him to be the next A.J. Brown. Many scouts compared him to being the next A.J. Brown because of the body type and the mold. But A.J. Brown is one of the best route runners to have. He's very explosive going deep down the field. He's one of the best 50-50 ball wide receivers. Treylon Burks is essentially just a big slot wide receiver. He can't catch the 50-50 ball. He can't separate. He doesn't have elite speed. He's a below average wide receiver at best. He's had some good moments, but that's when he's in the red zone situation and he can't stay healthy. He had a concussion last year to the Steelers. His rookie season, turf toe. He struggled in training camp because the cardio was not up to par. This is just a terrible situation on that end. The Treylon Burks situation with this Treylon Burks experiment with the Tennessee Titans is over with. You have better players at that position. You have Nick Westbrook-Ikine. Tyler Boyd right now is a better player than Treylon Burks. And Calvin Ridley is better also. And you had DeAndre Hopkins. So he was already struggling to find his way on the field. And it's also another example. Coach Callahan did not draft that kid. That was part of the Mike Vrabel era. And Mike Vrabel wanted to keep A.J. Brown. The general manager at the time wanted to move on from A.J. Brown because they did not want to pay him. He goes to the Philadelphia Eagles. He's still a top wide receiver in the NFL. And they're going to have to go out there and essentially rebuild this team from the ground up sooner than later because you had Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill was never going to be your guy long term. He had some solid seasons. That was it. But the most that they got out of this team was when they were a first round exit to the Cincinnati Bengals when they had Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown. They were so desperate to make a Super Bowl run. They went out there and they traded for a washed up Julio Jones. But that was underneath different leadership. I like this general manager in Rand. I do. I think ownership, they have a lot of flaws, but they have also found some diamonds in the rough. It's going to be tough for the Tennessee Titans, but this works into their favor. They're in a weak division. Besides the Houston Texans, there's not another team out there that's going to just completely dominate on a consistent basis. And the Tennessee Titans, they just went out there a few weeks ago and they defeated the Houston Texans. They just need solid quarterback play to get them over the hump right now, to get them back into playoff contention. Because you have the pieces. I look at this defense. I really like the defense that they have. Jeffrey Simmons is a very good defensive lineman. Harold Landry is a very good pass rusher. T'Vondre Sweat, you saw him against the Cincinnati Bengals. He's going to be great long-term alongside Jeffrey Simmons. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL, even with L'Jarius Sneed not working out. The secondary, they will give up big plays, but at the same time, the secondary can go out there, they can hold on their own. Hopefully, L'Jarius Sneed can really work out because if he can, that would be great. This is a Tennessee Titans team that had a tough secondary last year in terms of not going out there and playing well. Sean Murphy-Bunting was one of your starting corners. That's not a good situation to be in. So hopefully L'Jarius Sneed can pan out. I like the Tennessee Titans. I like the roster. I like the pieces that they have with Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, Chig at the tight end position, Calvin Ridley, Nick Westbrook-Ikine. They have some diamonds in the rough. You have J.C. Latham, Peter Skoronski. You have good young players. They just need to gel it together. And you have a young head coach. The jury is still out on him. But he is not the reason why this team only has 3 wins. Will Levis is part of the reason why they only have 3 wins. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you guys feel about this video and how you feel about Will Levis and his career in the NFL so far. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.